Marketer of the Day, episode 675, Clarity, Empathy, and Abundance, with agency coach Jason Swenk.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We are here with return guest Jason Swenk, and Jason is the agency advisor and mentor that guides marketing agencies through a proven framework for growing their agency faster. You can find his previous appearance from years ago at marketeroftheday.com/124. His website is jasonswenk.com. His podcast is smartagencymasterclass.com. And last time Jason was on, he told us to create the resource that we wish we had that satisfies 4 criteria. That's something that we're passionate about, something that we're knowledgeable in, an area where we have a unique advantage, and something that is helpful and educates people. And Jason is going to catch us up on what he and his agency have been up to and what you need to do moving forward, keeping in mind, doing the best that you can. So Jason, glad to reconnect with you here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me back on. I guess I didn't screw it up the first time.
Right. I mean, you did something right? If you get the return invite. So yeah, it's been a few years. What's been happening?
Man, I don't even know what year it is anymore, right? Like it's fun. It's just moving fast, and it's really cool to see kind of the impact that we're able to start delivering or been delivering to people with the podcast and the videos that we've been putting out for the past 5 years. And just to I just got back from a conference, and it was really pretty cool to have a ton of people come up and was like, hey, I took your advice 4 years ago, and now we're over this amount of revenue. And I was like, man, that's fantastic, where they have more freedom. So it's really pretty cool.
And that must make you feel pretty good, where in the moment you're making the podcast, making the videos, you don't know who's going to watch, you don't know if it's going to be well received, and then you do X number of podcasts or videos per week, and then it adds up after a while, and then you start getting that feedback like that, but it kind of sucks in the same time, because like it happens later, right? You don't get the thanks as you're doing it. You have to kind of trust the process a little bit.
Yeah, it's a thankless job in the very beginning, for a while, actually, right? Like, and you're like, am I doing it right? And then you just keep cranking along, and then you start hearing one success story and then another and another, and you're like, wow. Like, and an interesting thing that I've learned over the past years is, like, most people, when they start listening to a podcast or discover us, they usually take about 2 years to 3 years to actually engage with us. And I'm like, that's pretty cool that we've kept their attention for that long. And then by the time they're ready, they're like, there's no sales, there's no process. It's just like, hey, I want your help. I'm like, you want to talk about it? But no, like, here. I'm like, okay, thanks.
And that's really reassuring for a lot of the content creation, because it's easy to say, well, why am I doing all this stuff for free, right? Why am I doing all this free training if they're not gonna buy from me right now or do that discovery call? And then also there's those times where I'm sure you've thought about, like, well, should I like really plug this link in these videos or these podcasts, as opposed to like, well, I just want to get the information out there. And so that's really cool to hear that you've almost like broken them down over the years, right? Like they were ready to buy like a few weeks before they even called you, right? It just took all that time for you to stay in their ear and stay on their radar, it seems.
Yeah, and I'd have no problem. I mean, I like money, so don't get me wrong. I like making money, and I treat it as a game, but I'm also perfectly fine if they don't buy from us either, as long as they're getting value from the content we're putting out. Because like we talked about in the first show, I wanted to create a resource I wish I had to allow, to be like, hey, what are other agencies actually going through? What's working for them? Why should I not feel bad if my business is plateaued or actually started going in the reverse direction? Like, what do I need to do? Or like, because like I only can work with a select few for people that work privately with me. And some people are not right for the mastermind, or some people are just not the right fit. And so, here's the content for them to go help them out, and that's the whole goal. Yeah, and I think everybody should give away everything for free. Like, if you look at all the most successful people in this world, like Gary Vaynerchuk or any of those types of people, Seth Godin, they give away everything for free. Now they charge for things, but at the end of the day, you probably could cipher through everything. But where the programs or the other things, help out a little bit more is it saves you time. So like we have over 1,000 pieces of content, like macro content, 1,000 pieces. So you can go through all of it, but it's going to take you a long time, and it's not structured. It's all over the place. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like as you're describing that, I mean, you make me think like you figure like Gary Vaynerchuk. There's a huge, I mean, millions of people who will never pay him 1 cent, right? But people that get a lot of value, and then those handful of people that do end up paying Gary Vee money, like he needs to cast that wide net in order to find them, right? I mean, it's kind of like dating, right? You might date 20, 30 people to get married once, but you can't have one without the other. And who cares if there's extra stuff going out there anyway that's not going to benefit you? No big deal.
yeah, and he's built a brand, right? And so you may not pay him directly, but you're paying him indirectly. So if you go to a conference where he's getting $150,000 to speak for an hour, he's getting paid for it. So don't let him confuse you about like him doing it totally for free.
Right. And that's been that's the thing that took a while to click with me. Like even doing this podcast interviews, having some people on. I mean, some people are just on here just to get noticed, right? And just to like raise their profile a little bit. And so kind of along those lines, like so you said that your agency can't help everyone. You only take certain types of people. So like, how are you guys unique? Like who do you help, and how do you stand out from all the rest?
Well, like everybody's unique, right? So, I look at who did we have the most success, helping. So if they're an agency owner that wants to grow, that they're, just hitting their head against the wall, they're under 20 million and they're innovative and wanting to be resourceful, I'm like, you're the perfect client for us, right? We can help you. But if they're happy with where they're at, or if they're pretty stubborn and they don't like to listen, or they're people I don't want to hang out with, that I won't gel, like I'll be like, no, go here, right? And then how we stand out is we position ourselves in a different way, right? Like we're positioning ourselves with a sense of empathy. We're positioning ourselves as the trusted advisor. Like I'm never saying like, hey, do you want to know how I grew a big agency and sold it? Booyah. I'm saying, hey, would you like to create the freedom in your agency where you can pick and choose the things that you love, and actually be able to say no to the things or the clients that are not going to be perfect for you? Like, would you like that? I can walk you through a framework. And so like I'm appealing to them, and I'm actually putting out helpful information. Well, I mean, hopefully everybody's putting out helpful information, but most times people put it behind an opt-in, or they put it behind, a paywall and that kind of stuff. And so I want people to be like, cool, I've already benefited from your free content, and then if they want to pay us later on. So that's kind of how we differ. I mean, that's kind of why I got into the space, because I just saw a lot of people that maybe ran an agency for 6 months or a year, didn't get that successful, and then they started putting programs together, and they wanted to help, and it's good intentions, but they just didn't have that experience that we learned over the 12 years of effing up everything.
Right. So, yeah. So it's like you have something that's still working. You're not one of those that couldn't do it and decided to teach it. You're doing both at the same time. And so you said that, and it seems like I guess the starting point for a lot of these agencies, like when they come to you, is like it seems like maybe they're too busy and they're doing the things they don't want to do, and so it's like you help them provide the services that are fun for them. It seems, right?
That's the villain, right? So the villain in this story is being too busy. And you're being too busy because you don't have that clarity of what to say no to or where you're needing to go. And if you don't have that main foundation, now you can't position yourself in a new way. And if you can't position yourself in a new way, no one's going to know you exist. No one's going to pay attention to you, and no one's going to buy from you. And then after you got their attention, now you have to figure out what's the right offering, that you can actually help them out. Are you pitching marriage right off the bat? So there's a structure or framework that really any business, I don't even care if you're an agency, you really have to kind of walk them through on the prospect journey to the customer journey and even beyond.
And it seems like it's like you say that the villain is as being busy, right? And so I imagine that maybe some of these owners are like they can't even see the light, right? If they're so busy, it's like, do you ever come across that where it's like, I've got all these things going on, I don't even have time to think about this customer journey or about that funnel? Is that a common thing?
All the time, right? They're so in it. And so like a really good a story that my uncle actually lived through, and he told me, it will resonate with everybody. So one of his jobs, he worked on the F-14 Tomcat, the fighter jet and Top Gun, most people like. And so one of his jobs was testing out the canopy for bird strikes. And how you test out for bird strikes is you have to have a chicken gun where you load dead chickens in this gun and you shoot it at the canopy. And if it breaks the canopy, it's not strong enough. Well, they kept breaking these canopies over and over and over again. And so they were just getting so close to it. They were like, well, here's all the data. Here's all the stuff that we're doing. Here's the velocity of it, how close we are. And they sent it off to NASA. NASA looked through it, wrote them one sentence back, said, unfreeze your chicken. They were shooting frozen chickens. So they were too close to it. So most people are just so busy. They're so close to their business. A lot of times they need to kind of step back. And an easy way to do this is obviously, work with someone from the outside, but you can even sometimes do this in-house of saying, if someone else had this problem and I like kind of removed my emotions from it. So like, let's say I have this huge lead gen problem. I'm very emotional to it, right? Like, because I'm like, my God, if I don't get leads, I'm not going to get sales. If I don't get sales, I got to close up. I got to go take a job, right? So it's a lot of emotions and I'm going to make stupid decisions. But if I can kind of try to remove emotions by kind of saying like, all right, Robert, you have the lead generation problem. What advice would I give to you? Because I'm taking emotions out of it. A lot of times you can figure that out a lot easier.
That's good life advice in general, right? I have this problem. What if this other friend had it? What advice would I give to them? And then now you're not acting out of fear.
Yeah. Yeah. When you start making decisions based on emotions, usually it's the wrong decision. Because like, think about it, like you're chatting with a friend, they have a problem, or you're chatting with a client, they have a problem. You can see it clear as day. You know exactly what they need to go do. But if it's you're like a deer in the headlights. You're like, ah.
So speaking to that, I mean, I'm sure you have some really cool case studies, success stories of some of these agencies that you help. So does anything come to mind along those lines, like some agency where things were just a mess and you came in, worked your magic, applied your formula, and then they were super great after?
Yeah, one of my favorite ones is this, and he's still one of my clients, and so it's really pretty cool. Over the past 5 years, I don't think I could get rid of him if I tried. And when we started working together, they were under the $1 million mark. They were trying to service everybody, and he was doing a lot. Like he was in the business rather than working on it. So we set up the right systems, and we really kind of transitioned him from an owner to a CEO. And I can go through some of those roles of what that looks like, and that applies to really any business as well. And so when we're able to do this, he was able to grow his agency like by 8x. But the coolest part, he's able to take off a month every summer.
Awesome.
And come back, and the business is actually doing better without him. And I remember when he came back, he was like, business doesn't need me anymore. And he was really depressed because he didn't have that significance. And I said, hey, dummy, the business needs you for something else. The new roles that I just described to you. I was like, this was by design. And he was like, oh, okay. And now, multi-million-dollar agency, really like thought leader in the market, and just doing really well.
And that's a huge nugget right there. Like when I would say about half the guests I have on the show, when I ask them like, what was your big aha, or when did things change, or what does everyone need to do? It's always more delegating, more outsourcing. And for the longest time, I mean, looking back 10 years at least, whenever I heard of this outsourcing thing, it was always positioned as, well, just replace yourself, just have everyone else do what you normally do. And then I thought, Well, that sounds kind of boring. And then, but then the light bulb went on when it was more like, okay, have them take over what you do, and then you do some more important stuff, and then ideally someone takes over that, and then you do even more important stuff, and then you just continue the cycle. And then I was like, okay, now it makes sense. It's not use the delegation, outsourcing, systematizing the plateau. It's use it to grow, and then you're kind of the trailblazer in your own business, and then you figure things out, and then you just have the machine do it afterwards. That was huge, life changing right there.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that really interesting nugget about like owner versus CEO, and how there's some like roles in these companies that a lot of these people don't even know exist, or don't even know who's what. So can you unpack that a little bit, that whole owner versus CEO concept?
Yeah, the first one is setting the vision and communicating it to your team often. So most businesses, they start and they don't know where they're going because they started by accident. They were able to solve a problem. Someone offered them money and they actually did it. But the biggest thing is like figuring out, all right, who do I want to help? Where do I want to go? Why do I want to do it? And then communicate it to your team so you can get excited, right? So like our North Star is creating a resource we wish we had to be the number one resource in the world for agency owners, right? So every decision is based on that. And so people can know, okay, I want to help agency owners out. I want to help the agency market out. I get excited about that because I remember how challenging it was, right? So everybody that joins our team has to like that vision or love that vision and live it. The next is you need to coach and mentor just your direct reports, and you shouldn't have more than 5 direct reports. And your whole job is to make them better and then show them how they can make their team, coach and mentor their team and make their team better, right? The third is be the face of the organization. You should be creating content. You should be getting on podcasts, speaking on stages. If you're not a face, then people are going to see you as a corporate logo, and they're not going to be able to relate to you because a corporate logo doesn't have a personality, right? You think of Apple, you think of Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, right? You think of Johnny Ive, you know their personalities, like sleek, one word, like real simple, right? Like you know it. You think of Marriott, that's a logo, right? Like if Marriott was going to design a shoe, you would have no clue. And we don't know who like, I'll give you a award if you know who the CEO of Marriott is.
No
right?
idea.
And
right.
You can remove Marriott's logo, put it on whatever other hotel, and you would never know what hotel you're in, right? So it's not a brand. And I don't care, Marriott, if you're listening. It's just, we don't know who you exist. You need to make a change, or whoever's doing that marketing needs to make a change. So you need to be that face of the organization. The next, you need to assist sales, not do all of sales, because it looks like you going to a doctor's office and he takes the forms, he draws the blood, he takes the money. Like you'll be like, what kind of operation is this? And then the last part is understand the financials. Figure out like, what are the KPIs that I need to be aware of so we can make better decisions, and then put really smart people in it to saying, this is what we need to charge. This is like what we need to spend, and that kind of stuff. So those are really the 5 roles, and then you'll be completely depressed for a little while, and then you can kind of, grow into the new role.
But that's good. It's like it has to get worse before it gets better, right? You know what the problem is, you know where you're messing up, and you're like, okay, now I need to reinvent things.
Yep, exactly.
And what I'm hearing a lot from your answers here today is just how important it is to empower other people, right? Like we started off talking about creating the content that's just helpful, and not saying like, give me this opt-in and I'll give you these videos, just like help solve the problem. You're saying when you're the boss and you only have your 5 direct reports, show them how to do it. That way they're not always depending on you. That way you can take that month off in the summer, or however long that it is.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's just, people are everything. And if you don't have the right people, then the whole organization is depending on you. And that's a lot to bear, right? Like you should figure out like, what do you enjoy doing? Like, what don't you hate? Like you never want to do again, and that you don't, you hate. and then you should delegate that or say no or use technology or whatever it is. Like, stop doing that stuff.
And so, in the past maybe year or two, have you personally had any struggles with any of this stuff? Because it's easy to say like, "Oh, I help these clients," or here's the story. But as far as like you personally, have you like stumbled and had to correct in any way?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, like we just changed kind of some of our messaging. We used to talk about, hey, we help, like you did in the introduction. I was like, oh, I need to update that part. So, right, it's like, hey, you help agency owners grow their agency faster. Well, we started really thinking about and being like, because a lot of people are saying that now, right? They're copying us. And so we need to think about what's the next level. Why do they want to grow their agency faster? Well, they want to be able to create the freedom to pick and choose what they want. So that's why we've really repositioned ourselves to say, like, we want you to create the freedom in your agency to pick and choose and do the things that you love, right? Like, that's it, right? Even if they want to grow their agency and sell it, why do they want that? They want to have that freedom to do what they want, what they love. So it's all connected to that. And so, that was a little struggle for us. Or, other ones is like, I took off the whole summer. That was not a struggle. And then when I came back, the business plateaued for a little bit. So it enabled me to see, all right, what were the things I needed to set up better? So next summer when I take off, it doesn't plateau and it keeps growing without me.
That's a really good attitude. It seems like it's like, when we look at the things in our business that aren't working or used to work but didn't, or maybe a little bit out of date, it's really easy to cringe and feel bad about ourselves. But it's almost like, if you cringe at the past, that's good, right? That means that you're looking inward. That means that you're continuously improving, and better to be that than someone who is just completely ignorant and is just running the same old business for 10 years and has no idea how mediocre things are. So I think that's a really good attitude that you have, where you're like, well, there's always some improvement to be made. And it seems like you're getting your messaging more dialed in and getting it more emotional and more in tune with what people want, which is, it's what we all want, right? That's great. And then so when you mentioned about how you have like these podcasts and these videos, does any single video or podcast come to mind as far as like what you would consider like one of your best things? Or if someone was checking you out for the first time, is there one like must see video or podcast you have out there?
Maybe the interview with Seth Godin, just because he's a complete genius.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun to, going back and forth about, his perspective of agencies and what agencies he likes and what, he recommends and that kind of stuff. And we had some fun going back and forth. So, that would probably be the one. They're all my favorite. They're all my babies. All 400 of them or however many we have of them. But they're like, here's the deal. Like, our podcast, we only put out about 80% of the interviews that we actually do. The other 20% we actually delete, and the public never listens to them because they weren't up to our standards. So we only try to put out the best. So I love all of them, but if I had to pick one, like with a gun to my head, it would be Seth Godin.
Also, I love Seth Godin. Like years ago, I read some article of his about when you give presentations, just have one word or one graphic just to keep it simple, cut out the waste. Why have 12 bullet points on a slide? And so much of what he has to say is just about what you're talking today. It's like, just keep it simple, look at what's not working, cut out the waste, simplify, don't try to add complexity. Like somewhere in all that mess, something's working, remove what doesn't work. So simple, but it sometimes the ego and the emotion gets in the way, and it's hard to follow that good and easy advice. So if people liked our conversation today and they said, man, this Jason Swenk guy, he can help my agency get to where it needs to go. He's got a lot of things figured out. Where can and where should people find out more about you and your company and what you have going on?
Yeah, the best way is go to our website, jasonswenk.com, and Swenk is spelled SWENK. So just jasonswenk.com, and you'll be able to check out our podcast. It will have a link to the YouTube show, and it'll really have everything for you.
Super cool. So you go there and then you choose your own adventure. Go, if you're a YouTuber or a podcast listener, then you can go in whatever direction that makes sense to you. And then start getting hooked on these videos, and then hopefully it won't take you 2 or 3 years to reach out to Jason and his team.
That's okay if you do.
If it does, he'll still keep cranking it on because he has that consistent, predictable business that runs like a machine, even if you take time off, which is the freedom that we all want. So JASONSWENK.com. Go there. You're going to love it. Don't wait because it's so easy to get distracted. The phone rings. You have to go to the bathroom. When you come back and you say, wait, was I going to jasonswenk.com or not? Well, go there right now. And if you have to leave the computer for a second, just leave it open in a tab. That way you can come back to it. And then you can check out what's there when you're renewed and refreshed. So jasonswenk.com. Go there right now. We'll see you there. And thanks so much, Jason, for taking the time on a Friday morning and making that return trip and telling us about some cool stuff. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Go right now to marketeroftheday.com/iTunes to subscribe to the show, listen to other episodes, and rate and review the show.